Some say no chili, but I think it's quite nice, a bit of chili. Now, what we do is we need some olive oil. Get the olive oil in the pan first. And we're just going to fry a clove of garlic very, very gently, just so the garlic softens. And while that's cooking, I'm going to add the pasta. Now, it's one of those pasta dishes that by the time it takes to actually cook the pasta, that's when the sauce should be ready. So you kind of, sort of perfect kind of 10-minute pasta recipe. So just use half a clove of garlic. Cut the garlic really, really fine. Razor sharp knife. Nice and fine. And then add that to the oil, just so it softens. And then let's put our pasta in. So we've got our spaghetti or spaghettini, nice thin pasta, into boiling salted water. So we're going to cook that. Packet says about 10 minutes. We'll cook about 7 because we want it to be quite sort of real lovely bite to it. Okay, so that's cooking nicely. Right, let's make the sauce. So garlic, turn the heat up a bit. We're going to get a few olives. So you want to get that flavour, that saltiness from the olives and the capers. So we'll put a few of these olives. I'm just going to cut them up just slightly. I've just taken the stones out. These are Tadjasca olives. You could use like a Niçoise olive, but try and use the Italian ones. The Tadjasca from Liguria is a lovely sort of sweet olive, and it works really well. If you use something like a Kalamata, it's kind of a bit overpowering, so use Italian olives. You could use a green olive like the Nocellara, but the small little black ones are the best. Then we're just going to get some anchovy. So a few anchovy fillets. I can use about 5 or 6 here because it's really nice to get that flavour, slightly fishy flavour. So we'll just chop the anchovy fillets up a little bit. Add that to the oil. So this oil's taking all that flavour of the garlic, the olives, and now the anchovy. And then I'm going to add a few little capers. Now these are little sort of miniature capers, which have been kind of kept in a sort of vinegar. They're very, very nice. They're very, very sweet. The nicest ones, they're about that sort of size, and they're from Sicily in the sea salt, the coarse sea salt. They are amazing. We've got to obviously wash the salt off. Anyway, so I'm just going to add a few of these tiny capers, just so they fry. And then, traditionally, you probably make this just with fresh tomatoes, but I'm going to use a few of these jarred tomatoes, which have got such a lovely flavour, and just to kind of give the sauce a nice sort of richness and smoothness. But first of all, I'm going to add the tomatoes. So I've got some Daccharini tomatoes, so I'm just going to cut these into quarters, and I want these just to sort of melt. So I'm going to turn the temperature right down to about 3 on here, so very, very low heat. And I'm going to add the tomatoes just so they kind of melt in with all those lovely ingredients, you know, the capers, the olives, the anchovies. And then we're going to add a little bit of the jarred tomato. So fresh tomatoes in first. So you could do it with all fresh tomatoes. I mean, if you blanched some plum tomatoes and peeled them and de-seeded them and then chopped them up and then just threw them in, it would make a delicious, delicious sauce. Anyway, so that's probably enough tomatoes, not too much. Okay, so pop that in. We've got to be quick because our pasta's cooking. So that goes in. And just make sure those tomatoes just start to melt. Turn the heat up a little bit. Check the pasta. Our pasta's probably about, it's about 3-4 minutes away, so we've got a bit of time. So let those tomatoes melt, and then I'm going to add a spoonful of these lovely a spoonful of these jarred tomatoes, which are basically beautifully ripe tomatoes which have been blanched and put into the jar with the natural juice. There's no tomato puree or anything in there, but they've got like just like natural clean water in there. So do that. You could use like a passata as well. So chop them up and then just stir all those ingredients together so they just sort of cook down. Turn the heat up a bit just to speed it up. And to go with this, we've got some just some simple chopped parsley. So we've got the garlic in there, we've got the anchovies, we've got the capers, we've got the olives and the tomatoes, and then we're just going to finish off with a little bit of chopped parsley. So chopped parsley, a bit of stalk's quite nice, so leave a bit of the stalk on, and then just finely chop the parsley up. Okay, now that's cooking away. Let's look at our pasta. And what we want to do is actually cook that pasta in with the sauce so the flavour penetrates into the pasta. So let's just check the pasta. I think that's ready. So I'm going to take the pasta out. So that sauce is kind of half cooked now. And then we're going to add the pasta. So it's still quite al dente. It's got a real sort of bite to it. But we've got lots of lovely juice from the tomatoes. And then we're just going to cook that all together. I might add a little bit of pasta water. So I'll get a spoonful of pasta water. Maybe 2. And then you can see the pasta's still really, really undercooked. We want that lovely tomato sauce, all that juice to sort of cook the pasta and absorb all those flavors into the pasta. Because pasta on its own is pretty bland. But if you've got a sauce, you want to cook it with the pasta so they combine together, so you get the flavor into the pasta. So I'll turn the heat up reasonably high, and all that, you can see all this sort of the steam's coming off the sauce and that pasta. So we're just going to toss it. Just make sure that pasta and the sauce combines together. And as you toss it, the starch is going to be released, and it'll give a lovely sort of emulsified sauce. So add a bit more oil. This is quite an oily sauce, a nice amount of olive oil. Don't be scared of olive oil. And then we're going to add some beautiful fresh flat leaf parsley to that. And then again, give it a stir. But the most important thing is that that pasta is really al dente. It's got a lovely bite to it. Because the thing about pasta is, if it's really soft, it doesn't taste nice. It's nice to have a chewiness. It makes it taste so much nicer. Food's not all about, just seasoning. It's about texture as well. So, toss, 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 toss. I'm going to just check the seasoning. It's beautiful. It's nice and firm, the pasta. It's not soft or squashy. Bit of black pepper. I haven't had any black pepper yet. It's a nice bit of black pepper. Dried chili. Just want that sort of heat of the dried chili, like almost like an extra seasoning. You could use fresh, but a bit of dried sort of nice. And then I'm going to add a bit more pasta water. So another spoonful of pasta water, just so it cooks a little bit more. In fact, let's put one more. And then the last bit is just toss that pasta or stir it with a wooden spoon, but try not to use your tongs too much. If you use tongs, it will break up the pasta. And then we're going to check the seasoning. Put a spoon in. It doesn't need salt, because you've got that olive and you've got that anchovy and you've got the capers. It doesn't need salt. Add a little bit more olive oil. A bit more black pepper. And that's it. So, last bit of toss. There you have a delicious, very, very simple spaghetti alla Puttanesca.